Welcome to My Stories, the Michigan Humanities podcast. I'm Esty Schlenner, the Communications Officer from Michigan Humanities.
And I'm Jennifer Sierra. I'm a Michigan Humanities Program Analyst and doctoral student at the University of Michigan.
In this summer, we are excited to introduce a short series of episodes that explore the theme of humanities in unexpected places. While many of us can easily imagine the humanities being experienced in museums and libraries, at Michigan Humanities, we work with a wide range of partners outside of these spaces who are as actively engaged in humanities work. So, with these themed episodes, we wanted to bring awareness to alternative spaces where the humanities can be experienced and that most of us might not even realize.
And following with our theme of humanities in unexpected places, today we want to introduce you to the work of the Women's Huron Valley Correctional Facility School Program, which has been an active Great Michigan Read partner through their book club that they've been running. So today we have Jamie Griffith, Corette Smith, and Ernestine Howard from the school program who will talk to us about their book club and their Great Michigan Read partnership. So hello and welcome to the three of you. And we just want to get us started by, allowing you to introduce yourselves and introduce us to the book club. How did the partnership with the Great Michigan Read come about? When did it begin? And yeah, tell us about this partnership.
My name is Jamie Griffith. I've been an academic teacher here in corrections for about 14 years. I did start my career working with the men in the Jackson Level 1 facility. And that's the very first time that I contacted the Humanities Council. I partnered with the librarian out there, and we talked about this incredible organization, the Humanities Council, who would send free books and study guides. And we really kicked that book club off in the men's prison in 2017 with the Malcolm X book, X, a novel by Ilyasa Shabazz and Kekla Magoon. And that was an incredible book to bring to the men. It has literary elements that were just so very teachable. We brought anytime you can bring in good quality literature into the classroom. It was really a thrilling event for the men. And it just prompted a lot of discussions and really got us, um, you know, connecting with some of the things that we were learning in the classroom as well. Fast forward to my transfer over to the women's prison, where we were able to start here and launch a whole new program with more books and reconnect with Katie on a whole new level.
My name is Corette Smith, and I am new to corrections. A year and a half I've been here at Women's Huron Valley. I was a public school teacher for 29 years, and now I'm here, and the value of literature has been so important to me that when I got here, I was so excited to see that it existed in this situation.
I'm Ernestine Howard. I am the principal here, and I am extremely excited about the work that our teachers are doing to bring literature alive to our students. It is exciting to see how they respond, and we're just very pleased that this is a partnership that will last forever.
Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves and your work. We want to learn more about the types of programs and activities you have developed as part of the Great Michigan Read Initiative. Which activities have been most popular among your participants?
Well, we started with just getting familiar with these beautiful new books. The Firekeeper's Daughter really launched us into a whole new level of the book club. The book really resonated with our students, female protagonist, biracial, the indigenous history, culture, and our students could see themselves in these characters, and it's a beautifully written book. We expanded on that. We talked about the book. The study guides, we people were hungry for learning more about this culture in Michigan and learning about how many indigenous tribes there were. So we kind of really explored that. And I was so profoundly moved by my students' interest in this. I actually reached back out to Katie Wittenauer, and she had sent me some more copies of the book, and in fact, I reached out to Angeline Booley, kind of just on a whim on her Contact Us page. I wanted her to know as a writer, as an author, as a woman, that her work was really inspiring what was going on in our classrooms and how much we were learning from her characters and the high quality writing. And I was very pleasantly surprised to get a response from her agent. We talked about doing a Zoom call, a book Zoom call, right? I think I'd invited her to speak at one of our events, and she was currently in the middle of writing Warrior Girl, the second book. And she said, well, I can't come in person, and I love that you're enjoying this book. How about we do a Zoom call? And we were just electrified by that. So last January, we had a Zoom call meeting and were able to connect with her. And this kind of thing just doesn't happen in the prison setting. I mean, we have remarkable leadership with Principal Howard, our Lansing team, our education manager they're very, very supportive about being innovative in the classroom, being creative, really bringing a higher level of education to our students because we can, right? Because we have technology and we're able to do this. And Miss Booley just absolutely blew us away with her. She's so authentic and so humble and so incredibly personable, and answered all of our questions. And it just inspired us to keep going. Keep reading her story as a writer, as a woman who experienced her own challenges while writing this book. It took her, the seed started when she was a young girl, and wrote the book in her 50s, and just a really incredible success story for our students to see that. And it has just really blossomed from there. She sent a box of her second book to us. We did another book club, and it has absolutely just gone, flourished from there.
That's amazing to hear, Jamie. It really, I saw Angeline at an event in Monroe Community College last year, and she was such an amazing speaker, and it's just so great to hear how generous she can be, and that she made herself available. It's gonna be a hard act to follow for our Great Michigan Read, for which I'm very excited. I'm very excited about Curtis Chin, and I know he'll do just great. But Angeline really set the bar very high for us and our partners. So we're very excited for the next book and what partnerships will continue to look like in the future. And I wanted to ask you, similar to what you were talking about, I wanted to ask you all, like, how do you think being part of the Great Michigan Read and running this book club has supported and inspired your students in meaningful ways?
One of the ways that's supported them is they're trying to pass the HiSET test, which is a test that would give them their high school equivalency. So we took the similar questions that the HiSET asks, and we used Angeline Booley's book, Firekeeper's Daughter and Warrior Girl, and we put them into the context of the HiSET. So they're more engaged, obviously, because the book is just fantastic. Our students would come to book club excited to read the next chapter, trying to be quiet because they don't want to spoil it because some of them had read ahead super far into the book, and we asked them not to spoil it. And it was electric in the room when we were talking about the book. And we were teaching the HiSET, which in theory is a little bit dull, but bringing in Firekeeper's Daughter and Warrior Girl with those same questions that they're going to see on the test really, really has helped them like more ingrain those questions.
And it also encourages personal reflection and growth. Our students get a chance to kind of see themselves in those characters, and it allows them to reflect on where struggles may be in their lives, making better choices, allowing them to reflect on change, how they can grow. And of course, it also builds literacy and critical thinking. They're able to comprehend and think analytical through these book studies. And it also creates a sense of escapism. They can free their minds and be at a place where they can enjoy life, and that is extremely powerful.
I'd like to add to that, Ms. Howard. So many of our students are mothers who have struggled on their journey to literacy, quit school for a variety of reasons, and had never felt successful in school. And so we're really giving them an exciting, enriching text, and they can learn those skills. They can analyze, they can compare, and they can contrast, but they can also go home and then they can read to their children and their grandchildren. And that's a really authentic purpose that can't really be created anywhere else. So we're working on creating more of those opportunities as much as we can in a pretty difficult environment. But this book is an incredible teaching tool for us.
Thank you all so much for sharing that and sharing how it has impacted your students. I feel like you all just really eloquently explained kind of the importance of the humanities and the skills that come with reading and reading works that reflect humanity and can make your students really relate to them. So thank you so much for that. And I know you all have touched on this a little bit in previous questions, but could you please share some of the books or themes that have resonated most with your students? And maybe in what ways have they resonated with them? This could be either Great Michigan Read or non-Great Michigan Read, whatever you want to share.
Well, I would definitely say, I mean, I've got these books like right at the ready. They're all on my shelf behind me. The Exit Novel book is an incredible book. You know, it's young adult. So many of the men that I use it to teach in Jackson were, you know, at high school levels and beyond. But for the literary technique, she uses flashback in this book, and it's such an incredible way to tell the story. You know, many students talk about writing their memoirs. I want to write my story. So I always rely on books like that as an example, like try that technique or think about, you know, how do you want to tell your story? That was really powerful. It also, these Michigan, you know, Great Michigan Reads really teach us more about Michigan and Malcolm X and his history in Lansing and his role in Detroit and how he, you know, spends time out east. And, you know, these are history lessons that they have missed in the regular high school education. Firekeeper's Daughter, we all know, has really resonated with the women. Warrior Girl really, I think, allowed us to delve into current issues of reparations and what do we do to help you know, resolve issues with indigenous people's lands, and how do we do that? And these very hard, very complex questions that we're all thinking about, but they have, again, it's isolating here in prison. They don't get a lot of resources, lots of current events, things like that. They are really deep issues that connect us all together. And there's a small population of indigenous women here who have lived on the reservation and are affected deeply by that. Any other books that you can think of that resonate?
One of the things about A Firekeeper's Daughter, too, it sparked a conversation about writing, because writing is also a very challenging part of the HiSET test. Our students struggle a little bit with thinking like an author because they've never been an author. They've never tried to pen anything. So when The Warrior Girl came out, it was a very engaging, entertaining conversation about what would they have done, because many of our students were upset that the lead character in Firekeeper's Daughter did not come back as much as they wanted. They loved Donna so much. They wanted to see her again in the second book, and she's there, but it's not her story. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't read Warrior Girl. But the conversation was, what would you have done? If you were a writer, what would you do? And so they put on that writer's cap, and the conversation was so engaging. And I think it really did encourage them to think like, man, I could write. And we do have some women here whose stories should be written. And it was a very cool dynamic that day in the room about writing. I've also used a couple other books that I've used in the past too. I do teach over in currently over in Unit 1. The ladies over in Unit 1 get out about 45 minutes a day for rec time, but then they are in their cells with their bunkie for the rest of the day. So I teach class over there, and that's an extra hour they get to come out of their rooms and be engaged in something. So they have read Firekeeper's Daughter on their own, and we have done a couple of other books there. One of the ones I particularly like is War Horse. It talks about World War II, and World War I, and it goes through some history as well. And so weaving in that history of World War I and what was happening at the time and why it happened. And this story, if you've never read it, is from the point of view of the horse. So that brings in point of view questions that they need to be able to pass on that high set test. So I have used that one as well. And I'm also reading Hatchet to everyone because this is one of my favorites. And this brings in those questions even more about author's purpose. Why did the author write it this way? And what kind of mood or tone did the author create in this situation?
That is incredible to think about how you are doing such amazing work democratizing literacy and reading books and even being in that author position. And it's so inspiring because, in my other life, I'm also a graduate student. And I think something that we grapple a lot now with ChatGPT and AI tools is how do you get students to read and to care about reading anymore? It's something that seems to be a struggle for us as teachers and at the college level. And the way that you have gone about this program, you are giving me a lot of ideas on how people are still interested in reading. And it just maybe sometimes reading is portrayed as something that is elitist or outside of someone's everyday activities or interests. And it shouldn't be that way. Like there's so much to learn from what you're doing in the way that you frame the questions and the way that you invite your students to adopt different positions and think as an author, that it can be available to anyone to think about. And like we were talking about, have like critical thinking that we're all capable of. So thank you so much for this amazing work. And I definitely this book club should not ever end. And I want to learn about what are your hopes for the future with the book club? What kind of changes or things would you like to implement, or what are you thinking about for the coming years?
Well, for me, what I'd like to see is that we have access to more books and that we can get all of our teachers involved. I have seen the community building that this evolves with in those book clubs. The students feel heard, they feel valued. You can see the excitement on their faces. I would like to see more books, and I would also like to see all of my teachers involved. And also, this would help to build their writing. The better you can read, the better you can write. And so those are a few things I certainly would like to see.
Jamie and I previewed the book that's coming out this fall, and we're super excited about a totally different author bringing in a totally different perspective, bringing a totally different ethnicity to a book read. So it won't be the same. It'll be something completely opposite, and I think our students are excited for it and ready for it.
And I mean, I always will have a very, hold Ms. Booley, it's a very special place in our heart. We actually, Ms. Smith and I, last spring, we did get to see her at the Penn Theater in Plymouth. We went to see her speak, and it was incredibly moving and uplifting. And we brought that energy, we brought all of that to our classrooms. But I think we have really created the blueprint for further learning and being able to connect with her on those Zoom calls. They saw an authentic, personable individual who struggled and wrote and never gave up on her story, never gave up on her idea, right? And that is so valuable because for a lot of them, they've never known anybody like that. And we were so fortunate and truly grateful for what she shared with us. It was just really a remarkable event. I did collect a couple of quotes from some of our students. I was pouring through. So if I could just share a few, I'm actually reading my notes off of what some of them had written about the value. We could talk for days about the value of the book club and as teachers, how we see that. But I will read some students' feedback and quotes from them, just a few. Books have changed my life. I know that I'll be able to reach my potential. These are things that you don't hear a lot in prison. I'm not afraid to speak up and share my ideas and opinions. My voice is worth listening to. I encourage myself to do more things that I never thought I would accomplish. So I think that speaks as loudly as we could on those issues.
Thank you all so much. Jamie, first off, thank you so much for sharing those very moving quotes. That means a lot, and it's so wonderful to hear what an impact this book club has, and just what like reading and sharing books and sharing in knowledge and sharing perspectives really brings out in everyone. And I'm really excited about the aspirations and changes for the book club. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I hope your students enjoy everything I learned. I learned in a Chinese restaurant, our next Great Michigan Read. We're really excited about that one. Thank you all again so much for joining us today with this podcast. Just one last question is there any way that our listeners can support the work that you're doing?
I would have to say donating books. Those Zoom visits are phenomenal. Helping them to read more would be a great help.
Yeah, Miss Howard, do you want to share our very exciting news about who our graduation speaker is going to be at the
Please do.
Women's Huron Valley? Would you like to? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss.
One of the other things I did earlier this spring is invite Ms. Booley to be our graduation speaker. So she is going to be the 2025 graduation speaker for the Women's Huron Valley. So I was like, we can't forget to tell them that. So she is actually going to be here in person, and we plan on. I mean, it's a really beautiful event when you have a graduation here, and Ms. Howard has just brought this school to a whole new level. Ms. Smith has been absolutely amazing to have as a colleague, as a partner, as a friend. And we're just not stopping. We just keep asking, and Ms. Booley said yes. So we are grateful, and I will be in touch with Katie and share all of the great news for that event. So thank you so much.
That
you.
is amazing news to end our conversation with. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And our love for Angeline will never end. And I'm so happy to hear that she'll be there in person. And the impact that will have in your students. I'm just so excited for them. And hopefully that fills them with a lot of hope for what they can achieve and their value in our society. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for your work as well.
Thank you so much
Thank you.